As I have mentioned, we've talked about what is a Model United Nations Conference. However, we haven't mentioned the members of the conference. We have two teams in MUN conferences. The first one is the academic team, and the second part is the organization team. The academic team consists of the executive board, which is the members that are mostly involved in the organization and the academic aspect of the conference. So the executive board consists of the Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, and if the conference follows time and procedure, it also involves the President of the General Assembly. Apart from that, we have the advisory panel, and the advisory panel is responsible for the resolutions and checking them and approving them. Apart from that, we have the head of crisis and crisis team members, which are responsible for the updates in crisis committees, as well as maybe a few crises in GA or other types of committees. And we may have academic advisors, and usually academic advisors are the teachers responsible for the MUN conference in schools or in online conferences, usually experienced delegates or experienced MUNers are academic advisors of the conference, and they help the executive board as well as the organization team during the organization process. And we have the organization team. So I have merged online and physical conferences in these boxes. So we have the Director General in the organization team, since they're not really involved in academics. The organization is more of their job. We have the Head of Public Relations and Delegate Affairs, Head of Design, Finance, Logistics, Transportation. So starting from Head of Logistics, Transportation, Admin, and Press, they're usually something we're involved with in physical conferences. However, in online conferences, we Head of Design, Head of Finance, Head of IT, or even Head of Entertainment. Now, I would like to talk about the application process. You can attend as a delegation, chair board member, and rarely actually crisis team member, but I wanted to add that. So a delegate is representing a country, as we have mentioned in the beginning of the video. You can apply as a delegate if you have a certain amount of experiences or not any experiences at all. And if your school wishes to attend an annual conference with a group of 5 or more people with an advisor, you can apply as a delegation, and your advisor will be responsible for their application and the safety of the participants from the school. And you can apply as a chair board member. The chair board member consists of the president and vice chair. You may apply as them as well if you have enough experience. However, when you apply as these certain positions, it is not a guarantee that you will be accepted as that position. For example, if the secretariat does not believe that you fulfill the requirements to be a chair board member, they may reject your application, or they may request you to apply as a delegate. And you may rarely see the crisis team member application. However, only for certain conferences, you can apply as a crisis team member to work in crisis committees or GA committees for like 1 or 2 crises.
I am so sorry. Can I ask a question about the applications?
Of course.
As you know, secretariat secretariat want an experience list from to the participants with committee name, conference name, and date, country, and awards if there are any. Actually, I would like to give an example. For example, someone would like to be a chair board member in a MUN conference, maybe, and then your someone have got a many MUN experiences as a delegate, but you have no award from your MUN experiences. For example, no honorable mention, no outstanding and best delegate award. So, what is the situation of this human, and then is there any is there any disadvantage for in this situation? So can you give some information in detail, please?
Sure. So once I was the Secretary General of the conference, so I can say that the selection of the chair board member it has like each conference has a different criteria on that. So some conferences look at the amount of experiences and also the awards. And if they believe that they're efficient enough, they will be invited to a certain interview in online conferences, maybe on Zoom. And if they believe that their language level is high enough, they will get accepted. However, in other conferences, you will see that the Secretariat will check the motivational letter or an attachment that was made in the application and check their English level from that files and the amount of experiences, including the awards. But that really depends on the conference. And when we are talking about like a big conference and that has took place in took place many times and that involves hundreds and thousands of people, they're really strict with their criteria. Let's talk about RCI, MUN, UNESCO, or let's talk about MUN. These conferences are really privileged and they are really known in the MUN society. So while they're searching through applications for their academic team, they're really careful and they have really strict criteria. So as I have mentioned once before, it really depends on which conference you attend.
Thank you for this information.
I may move on with the presentation now.
Yes, you can.
So now I'd like to talk about the types of committees in an MUN conference. So as we have mentioned, the basic committees, like the ones that we compare the most, are the General Assembly committees and the crisis committees. But apart from that, we have other committees as well. For General Assembly committees, the committee can follow two procedures, hybrid and timing. For the other committees, we have UNHRC, UNODC, UN Women, Economic and Social Council, and G20. So these committees usually follow the hybrid procedure. However, you can be familiar with timing committees for UNHRC and UNODC, maybe even UN Women. But apart from that, there are a few committees that are not considered a GA or a crisis at all. The first one is ICJ, International Court of Justice, where you take the role of an advocate or a judge and you try to solve a case. And my favorite, United Nations Security Council and timing procedure, actually. But there are also a hybrid procedure and a timer procedure for UNSC, so you can decide upon which one you prefer. And we have North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which you may be familiar with. It is really similar to a crisis committee and a security council, which could be like the combination between them, but the difference is it involves the military aspect more if we compare to the United Nations Security Council, and the updates and the crises are like really different from a regular crisis committee. And last, we have the crisis committees that most of the advanced MUNers really enjoy, which is Historical Crisis Committee, Futuristic Crisis Committee, and Joint Crisis Committee. So the Joint Crisis Committee can be historical, and even the United Nations Security Council can be historical. So the timing depends on the conference and who organizes it.
Actually, I would like to say something about GA committees and crisis committees. I joined ECOFIN committee when I was a first timer. To be honest, I really enjoyed in my first MUN experience. So I would like to say that the first timers should join first timer committees as you said. For example, Ecofin is very good for first timers participants. I would like I wanted make I wanted to give this advice because I was an first timer when I joined Ecofin committee, so I wanted help to the other participants for to the committee preferences. So lastly, I think the first timers should Ecofin committee in MUN if you the participant is first timer for in MUN conferences or Ecofin committee or in a first timers committee. So thank you so much for your presentation, and if you want you can continue your presentation now.
Okay. So now I'd like to talk about the preparation process for a conference as a delegate or maybe an ambassador or something. So while getting ready for a conference, the preparation really depends on the type of committee you're in. So let's start off with the GA committees. In GA committees, whether it's Timon or Harvard, there is a specific agenda item and you're expected to work upon the resolution on them. However, in Timon, it is in the beginning, and in Harvard, it's the last thing to do. So first of all, you have to understand the agenda item really properly. So you're given a study guide by the chair board members of the committee. First of all, I believe that you should read that study guide and understand and fulfill it. And apart from that, you should also do some individual research apart from the study guides and add it with the addition of country research and country's point of view on the specific agenda item that is given to you in the GA committee. Apart from that, if you're in a crisis committee, actually there is not a long preparation process because it is a committee where you're given updates and you're being updated really fast and you're they're like current news you receive, so you have to work upon them during the committee session. So you don't have a lot to do before the session. If you're talking about the ICJ committee is actually somewhere that you should not be doing research for, and the case is given like a day or 2 days before the conference. So in ICJ, you should just see the proceeding of the case and work on your solutions or your questions if you're a judge during the committee session. For NATO and crisis committees, as I mentioned, they're not really a lot to do. The best you can do is to understand the agenda item and maybe see your alliances for the situations. For example, if it's a war, who are your allies and what they have done in the past? Because if you're talking about maybe a historical committee, the results can be different from the original result in the history. This is different. So if you have any questions, we can move on with them.
Actually, I would like to. First, actually, I have a question about crisis committee. As you know, the participants write a directive with three kinds in crisis committees, and then there is a procedure of directive, and then the participants write the decisions to their formal session into their directive, and then what is the important things writing a directive for participants, and I would like to learn to do the answer of to this question.
Okay, so while writing a directive, as I have mentioned once before, you have to answer WH. It should be specified who is doing it, where it's done, how it's done, and it should be detailed, because if it's not detailed, it may not be approved by the Undersecretary General or the crisis team member of the committee. So that is the first thing you have to focus on. And the second one is you have to be careful. If you want this directive to be a secret directive, you're just supposed to send it to the chair board member, and you will be updated upon the directive if it's assessed and accepted after a while. So you have to be patient as well. Apart from that, if it's a committee directive, I believe that it should be more detailed, because the whole committee is working on it. If I was a USC or a crisis team member in a committee, I would expect the committee directive to be as detailed as possible, and it's also answer the questions, WH questions that I mentioned before. So that's all.
Thank you so much. So if you want, you can contain your presentation.
Okay, so now I will be explaining the procedures in short detail. So I'd like to start off with the time and procedure.